Carrie Van Ice here, and I am in sunny Huatulco. I know that there are many of you who are getting deeper and deeper into the winter months, and maybe you're starting to think about how are you going to spend those long months and how can you move your desire to be an English teacher either online or abroad forward during the long dark days of winter in the north. Well, one thing that you might consider doing is taking some kind of certification. And we talked about this in the masterclass, but I've been hearing from many of you who are considering this or that or the other. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you again a couple of insights that I've learned over a decade of helping people make these kinds of decisions on what might be best for you. So let's just review. A certification is a training that you can take that will help you learn the skill of teaching English as a second or foreign language. Now, there are many different types of certification, but they kind of fall into two major categories that we talked about during the masterclass. One is a TEFL, T-E-F-L, Teaching English as a Foreign Language. That is a non-standardized training that comes in many shapes and sizes. It can be anywhere from a 60-hour training up to a 240-hour more in-depth training. It can have specializations to it like business English or medical English. And there are many, many different companies that teach that both online and on the ground. The alternative, not necessarily alternative, but another option to that is a CELTA, C-E-L-T-A. The CELTA used to stand for a certification for teaching English to adults, but they don't even really use that anymore. They just go by CELTA, and CELTA does not exclusively mean that you would be teaching adults. A CELTA is also something that many employers look for when they're hiring you to teach young people as well. So CELTA is a standardized certification. So from a hiring manager's perspective, if I see that you have taken a CELTA, I immediately know what you had to do and what you learned in order to earn that certification. So this is why the CELTA is often preferred by employers, because there's never any question about what you learned and what skills you have now that you have that certification. The TEFL, on the other hand, because it comes in many shapes and sizes, leaves a lot of margin for different ways of presenting the material and different components being included in the training. So I have spoken to many people who've taken the CELTA and the TEFL. There are TEFL programs that are just as good, if not better, than the CELTA. There are also those that are not as rigorous and are not at the same quality as a CELTA. So the real reason why the CELTA becomes the gold standard is that it is a standardized program and that it's globally recognized, and it's by Cambridge. So Cambridge is a very big player in the game of teaching English either online or abroad. So when somebody has a TEFL, for example, there's no standardized curriculum for that or syllabus. It's taught however they want to teach it. So this is where you need to be your own investigator, and you need to ask some really great questions about what components are there in the training, what am I going to be learning? Specifically, am I going to get any actual teaching hours? That's another reason why the CELTA is preferred. It is a requirement that you do at least 6 hours of training of teaching people who are learning English. So you come out of that training already having prepared an entire class, done all of the lesson planning, presented for that, been evaluated by professionals, and gotten feedback on how you might improve your teaching style or your teaching skills. That is very valuable for employers. The TEFL doesn't always have a component of teaching to it, so that is one of the questions I would very much encourage you to ask and find out. It's favored by employers, of course. Other things that I would say if you're taking the TEFL you would want to know is who is it accredited by? So who is standing behind it and saying this is a quality program and you're gonna get your value for your investment. Those are some important things to do. You can get the syllabus, the CELTA syllabus, online, and you can compare it to what you're going to learn in a TEFL. The TEFL tends to be less expensive than the CELTA in most cases. So you can get a good comparable training in the form of a TEFL if you've stacked it up against the syllabus for the CELTA and found out that you're going to get the same type of education, if you will, from that experience. So now let's talk a little bit about whether you're going to take this online or on the ground in the classroom. I would encourage you, no matter how you decide to approach this, that if you can invest the time and the money, do an in-person training. You will have a much easier time. From what I know, my own personal experience, I did take an online training back in the day, an online TEFL certification back in the day before I knew anything about this. I've since learned that's probably not the way to go, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I do after helping thousands of people do this. Those who succeed and have the best experience are the ones who take this type of training online, or on the ground, or they're taking an online component that has a actual classroom to it. So they're not just watching videos kind of do-it-yourself style. They are participating with other students who are taking the training. They have a live teacher. They're showing up to a live virtual classroom, much like we did for the master class, and they're receiving the information that way, and they're being supported by the trainer. Now, if you don't have the time and money to invest in something like that, taking some kind of certification is better than taking no certification at all. So if what you can invest in is a 60-hour online do-it-yourself TEFL, I would still encourage you to do that because it's going to open doors of opportunity to you that you wouldn't have access to if you don't have a training, and it is going to make you better prepared as a teacher than having no training at all. So when you're thinking about what you're going to do with those long nights in the north this winter, you might want to consider taking some kind of training in your local area or online. We've talked about a lot. Another place that you can look for in classroom opportunities for both the CELTA and the TEFL are local universities and colleges that might be in your area. They sometimes offer these trainings and you can just get in on the semester or bimester system that they are offering and take your training that way. So, but no matter what, I would encourage you to take some kind of training to better prepare yourself for having an easier time as a new teacher and to provide a better service for your students. You're doing this for them at some level, and I know you want to really give them a quality experience and really help them learn this life-changing skill. And this small investment that you're going to make in some kind of training is going to mean they're going to get even more out of what they learn from you. They're going to advance faster, and their life is going to change more quickly because of the efforts you make in some kind of training.